So here's the thing. Dead Cells has been out for almost a year and we have had like drastic changes, some better than others. Due to the recent release of Dead Cells 1.0, I thought it'd be fitting to release a video showing my 41 hours of experience in the game. I was gonna make this video after beating the final boss. You know no. Story. Dead Cells is basically, it has no story. Yeah, that's basically it. Has no story. There you go. Story. No, basically, here's the thing. Dead Cells is a game with basically no story, although there is many secrets of hidden lore scattered and generated in each map. There's very little actual lore. The gist of the story is you're some strange blob that meets a knight and you're resurrected on death. That's it. That's literally it. There are small pieces of lore that tell you what kind of world Dead Cells is. However, it isn't much, and you'll realize that when you get to the game that you won't really care about the lore, not gonna lie. Although, the devs do want you to care about the lore, you just won't. The gameplay for Dead Cells is that it's a randomly generated map which is set in a pixelated 2D environment. It requires a lot of platforming, and basically you have to kill your way through each stage. Stage. I'd call it a stage. Basically, kill and run. That's it. When you start the game, you'll find yourself wandering, looking for secrets, killing enemies on entire floors before going to the next section, and then repeating that thing on the next section. Yet, don't do that. That's the thing. The game is meant to be played fast. There are many mechanics that require the player to go fast. For example, the time doors are a mechanic that's in each stage of the game that incentivize the player to go and finish the room quickly. And unlocking the door will give you like cool loot, cool stuff. You wanna know. And also, after killing an X amount of monsters, by X I mean actually X, like it's usually about 3 or 4 in a row, you get a speed boost. And what a speed boost basically does is self-explanatory. It's a boost to your speed, but it lasts for about 15 to 10 seconds, I think. Also, when you're going fast through the stages, you'll look for a lot of stuff, and you'll see these weird scroll things that you won't know what they are. Yeah, you probably want to pick those up. Scroll power, or as I like to call them, big scroller boys. Big scroll boys. Haha. They're scattered around the world to allow different options of play. Firstly, there's brutality. This means any weapons that are highlighted in red will allow the user to do more damage with those specific weapons. Then there is tactics that are used for purple boys, haha, and they're usually used for traps and CC items. CC meaning stun, slow, roots, etc. And finally, survival is the stat for tankiness. Yep, that's definitely a word. Sustain and can also be used for shields. Many of you probably thinking, what you mean the stats can be used on weapons and your character? And to them I say, shh, be patient young one, all will be answered soon. This is not ASMR. Also, or if you want the answers, all you have to do is put your mom's credit card. You want weapons? Dead Cells has weapons. We got shields, spears, bombs, traps, swords, more bombs, grenades, lollies. That last one wasn't real. YouTube, I'm sorry. Bombs. Also, did I mention grenades and bombs? Yes, I know what you're all thinking. Loser, does Dead Cells have bombs? And to you I say, no, it doesn't. No, haha, lmao, just kidding. Here's the thing, Dead Cells has an array of weapons. To start off with, you are given a choice between a rusty sword, a regular bow, or a wooden shield. These items can get you through the first couple of stages. But with upgrades from NPCs that I will talk about later, you are able to get blueprints which can drop from enemies and use cells which you can pick up from enemies to turn them into weapons. You get it, right? Yeah, you get it, right? Okay, so when you kill an enemy, it has the possibility to drop cells. With it also drops money. Now cells are used to upgrade weapons. Reforge them and give them permanent upgrades. Basically, they're important. You need them. You probably want to pick them up. Enemies also have a chance of dropping a blueprint on death, which when you pick them up, can be redeemed and can be forged using cells. Once you unlock a weapon, then you can use that weapon for the rest of the game, unless you want to change. But when you die, you have a chance of encountering that weapon again if you're lucky, or it could just be trash. Either way, power scrolls are incorporated with weapons because when a weapon is highlighted red, this means that brutality will increase on its stats, or when a purple weapon is being used, tactics will help that weapon. This goes the same for green weapons and survivability. I should have mentioned this before, but scrolls also allow you to have a certain percentage of health added to your base amount of health. And the more times you use a scroll, the less percentage of health you get. For example, if you were to use about 5 stacks of brutality, then the percentage of health being given would reduce by about 5, then 10, or something like that. That's why a lot of people after their 5th or 6th stack, they have quite a lot of damage, so they usually go for something like survivability for that large health boost, and then they go back to brutality for a couple more stacks and then change again. So yeah, weapons are pretty cool. NPCs are located in one main area, which is the section between each of the stages, where many of the NPCs that you'll need are located, such as the Collector. The Collector is the big boy who gives you blueprints, takes cells for the blueprints, and also will have a permanent perks that you can use throughout the game. Gullion, who gives you mutations to aid you in a bunch of ways. Mutations are another completely different thing. There's so many different mutations that you can unlock through the game. I probably won't really need to talk about them because there's a lot of them, and it's a lot based on your playstyle. They just aid you in different ways. For example, there is the extra life one, but that only works on the first stage, so if you don't get it after the first stage, you're just pretty screwed. You're not going to get it again, and if you die, you start again as per usual. There's also the blacksmith NPC, who basically you have a percentage chance of getting a weapon with higher upgradability, and you usually need cells for this, but you can only need the blacksmith after killing the first boss. And there is another guy, a big boy. He can reroll your weapons, cause each of your weapons has these stats which will help you depending on your build. For example, 30% extra damage when the enemy's on fire, something like that. So you can re-roll them to give to based on what you're playing. But I mean, it's up to you. You can re-roll it if you want. You might just get really lucky. There might be more rolls than you need, or you just want to upgrade. It will allow you to upgrade once, but after that, it won't. There are other NPCs in the game. They don't really matter. Weapon upgrades are also something in the game. As I talked about before, you can use the blacksmith to upgrade your weapons, and that will be indicated with a small little arrow above it. Also, I've not got past the second upgrade path, mostly because the third one's locked right now. It's kind of weird how the game works, but you have to go to him, and that's one way of upgrading it. Another way is that each weapon, as you progress, will be indicated with a little number next to them. That number basically means how good they are. That's also another stat. It's like it's in Roman numerals, and your weapon will be better. I don't know, it just kind of drops at a higher number, and then it'll be more DPS with that number. There's so much in this game, but basically the final thing I'm going to talk about is the bosses, big boss boys. There are 4 bosses. With the recent 1.0 update, they've all have changed names. I'm just gonna say one, which is the Concierge. I don't know, I think I pronounced that wrong. This is the first boss you'll face, and instead of there being an order of bosses you can face, there is an option between the first 2. But like, to get to different rooms, you need these weird things called runes. That rhymed, and I'm very impressed with that. Also, runes can be found when you kill an elite monster. Elite monsters are basically regular monsters. They just do have more health and can do more damage, and they can also teleport in certain cases. And what they do is that they have a chance to drop these runes depending on where you are. But not every single elite monster will drop them. Only the certain ones where the runes are kept, and you have to be in those certain places. So for example, if you want the spider rune, which is my favorite rune, you have to first get a divine rune, which can be found in one of the first sections, and then second you have to get the teleportation rune, and then after that you have to get the Odyssey rune, and then to get the spider rune you have to go in Slumbering Sanctuary and go and kill one of the elites before you can get that rune. So that's a long process, but it makes you a spider boy. Makes you be a big spider boy, and you can climb on walls and everything. It's cool. There are many different ways you can take to go to the bosses. I'm not explaining the ways because there's so many combinations. But what I like to do is I like to go through the first stage, then go through the big sewer boy, and then the promenade of the condemned, and then after that I go against the first easier boss, and then after that I go through not Slumbering Sanctuary, I go through the other Fjord thing, I don't know what to call it, man. And then I go to the clock tower, and then I go up the clock tower and find the key, go into the room, kill the assassin, and then that is only one way after you've killed the assassin, which is the Hand of the King's way. Yeah, no, that's just hard. It's not called the assassin anymore, is it? Holy wait, it's called the timekeeper. Oh well. I mean, they all have their individual fun fights, all these bosses. You'll find that as you go, and it's not called the incomplete one either, it's called the conjure. I'm just going to call it by the old names because they're easier. I'm not going to tell you all the mechanics and stuff because the mechanics are fun to go through by first time. And finally, my final thoughts on the game. Dead Cells is a fun game that has a lot of content that even post-game, after you've beaten the final boss, you can still enjoy the game. However, I can understand that there is a slight learning curve, and there is a lot of content for someone to go through, and if you don't mind breaking a few controllers, I think you'll enjoy it. P.S. Play on keyboard, it's much easier. That's a good thing.